My boyfriend called me ugly in front of his friends and dumped me at a restaurant, leaving me to pay for dinner. As he walked away, he loudly said, "A girl like you should be grateful I even dated you." I smiled and calmly waited. This morning, my phone blew up with 13 missed calls. Part 1. You guys, I'm still processing what happened last weekend. I keep replaying it in my head and wondering if I somehow imagined the whole thing, but nope, my maxed out credit card and the ice cream stains on my couch confirm it was very real. For context, I had been with Ryan for 2 years, not some casual fling or whatever. We had the whole routine down: Netflix marathons on Sundays, awkward holiday dinners with both families, even that weird couples yoga class he insisted on trying. Things weren't perfect between us, are they ever? But I thought we were solid. We had talked about maybe moving in together this summer. He had these little annoying habits, leaving his socks literally everywhere, texting during movies, and making these helpful comments about my appearance. Stuff like, "That shirt makes your arms look bigger," or, "Have you thought about trying a different hairstyle?" I always brushed it off as him being honest. Gee, past me, was such an idiot. So last Friday, Ryan texted me about this dinner with some work friends. He'd never really included me in his work life before, always saying it wasn't professional or whatever, so I was actually excited. I even went shopping for a new outfit, RIP my budget, and spent forever getting ready. I'm talking full YouTube makeup tutorial, the fancy straightener I only use for special occasions, the works. I get to this super expensive restaurant downtown, the kind with tiny portions and no prices on the menu, red flag number 1. Ryan's already there with 2 guys he works with, Leonard and Pablo. The moment I walk up, there's this weird vibe. Ryan barely acknowledges me, just a half stand from his chair and a quick, "You're late." I was literally 2 minutes late because parking was impossible. I sit down, and he looks at my outfit and goes, "Oh, you wore that?" Not quietly either. His friends exchanged looks, and I immediately feel my face getting hot. For the record, I was wearing a dark blue dress that I thought looked nice, nothing crazy or inappropriate. I try to laugh it off, like, "Is there a dress code I missed?" But he just shrugs and says they already ordered appetizers. Cool. The next hour is basically Ryan talking about work stuff I don't understand, while his friends nod along. Whenever I try to join the conversation, Ryan either talks over me or explains why I'm wrong about whatever I just said. At one point, I mention something about a customer at my store, and Ryan interrupts with, "She doesn't really get how things work in the real business world," with this dismissive wave, like retail isn't a real job. I've been a manager for 3 years. I'm sitting there, getting more uncomfortable, wondering if Ryan's always been this condescending, and I just never noticed, or if he's showing off for his friends. Either way, not a great look. Then Leonard asks how we met, and I start telling the story about how his coworker Vanessa is my best friend and introduced us. Ryan cuts me off mid-sentence and says, "Yeah, Vanessa felt bad for her. I was doing her a favor really," and laughs. You guys, my stomach literally dropped. That's not even close to how it happened. Vanessa had actually warned me about Ryan's ego before setting us up, but said he was a good guy underneath it all. Spoiler alert, he wasn't. I excuse myself to the bathroom, mostly so I don't cry in front of them. I'm in the stall texting Vanessa like, "WTF is happening?" when I get a notification that Ryan just tagged himself at this restaurant on Instagram, with the caption, "Boys Night Out." Like I'm not even there. Vanessa calls me immediately, but I send her to voicemail because I don't want the guys to hear me crying. I splash some water on my face, fix my makeup, and give myself this sad little pep talk in the mirror about getting through dinner with dignity. When I get back to the table, they're all laughing about something, but stop abruptly when I sit down. Awesome. The waiter brings our main courses, and Ryan keeps making these jokes about my food choice. I ordered pasta, one of the less expensive options, because I was already worried about the bill. He keeps saying stuff like, "Carb loading for a marathon," and, "That's a bold choice for someone with your body type." Each comment feels like a little paper cut, and they're adding up fast. At this point, I'm barely eating, just pushing food around my plate, and counting the minutes until I can leave. Then Pablo asks Ryan about some presentation. And Ryan launches into this whole story about how his boss loved his ideas, and he's basically running the whole project now. Something clicks in my brain. The week before, Ryan had been stressing about this same presentation, saying his portion was only 5 minutes long and he was nervous. Now, suddenly, he's the star. It's like he's living in some alternate universe where he's the main character. Then the bill comes. The waiter sets it on the table, and Ryan picks it up, looks at it for a second, then slides it over to me. I think he's just showing me the total, but then he says, and I will never forget this, "You know what? I don't think this is working." I stare at him, waiting for the punchline. There isn't one. "I've been trying to make this work, but I'm just not attracted to you anymore. I think we should break up." In the middle of a restaurant, in front of his friends, after 2 years together. Who does that? I'm completely blindsided. "Are you serious right now? This is how you want to do this?" He stands up, grabs his jacket, and says, "God, I still get a knot in my stomach thinking about it. A girl like you should be grateful I even dated you this long. You're not exactly a prize." Then he and his friends just left. They all walked out together, laughing, leaving me sitting there with a $347 bill for all their stupid Wagyu appetizers and fancy cocktails. The waiter came over with this look of pity that made everything 1,000 times worse. I paid the bill with my credit card, which I'm still paying off from Christmas, yay, and somehow made it to my car without completely falling apart. I called Vanessa from the parking lot, sobbing so hard she couldn't understand me at first. She came straight to my apartment with a pint of Ben & Jerry's and a bottle of wine, the real MVP. Between ugly crying and stress-eating cookie dough, I told her everything. She was livid, like I had to talk her out of driving to Ryan's place and causing a scene. That's when she got weird. She kept asking questions about what Ryan had said about work, the project he mentioned, his role in the company. Finally, she was like, "Sabrina, I don't know how to tell you this, but Ryan isn't who he says he is at work. Turns out, Ryan isn't some hotshot marketing guy about to get promoted. He's an assistant who makes coffee runs and schedules meetings. All those business trips. Complete fabrications. The big presentation. He was just doing the slides for the actual team. The fancy title on his LinkedIn. Total fiction." I felt like such an idiot. For 2 years, this guy had been lying about basically everything, and I never questioned it. What else had he been lying about? That night, after Vanessa left, I went into full detective mode. I scrolled back through our text history, our photos, everything. So many inconsistencies I'd missed. Comments about money that didn't add up, times he had to work late, but his location showed him across town. I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying that moment in the restaurant, how small he made me feel, how humiliated I was. Then, at like 3 a.m., I get a text from a number I don't recognize. "Hey, it's Cody from Ryan's office. Vanessa gave me your number. There's some stuff you should know." That's when things got really interesting. Like, you can click on share more to see if there is a part 2. First update. First, thank you all so much for the supportive comments on my last post. I literally cried reading some of them, in a good way. A lot of you asked for an update, so here's what happened next in this absolutely wild situation. After finding out from Cody that my boyfriend of 2 years had basically been living in a fantasy world of his own creation, I spent the next few days in that gross post-breakup fog. You know, the one where you're alternating between crying into a pint of ice cream and angrily scrolling through old photos, wondering if any of it was real. My apartment looked like a disaster zone, dishes piled up, laundry everywhere, and approximately 7 empty DoorDash bags because cooking felt impossible. The worst part was that I kept having these moments where I'd think of something funny to text Ryan. Then remember what happened. It was like being dumped all over again. My brain was literally stuck in a loop of, did that actually happen? And how did I not see this coming? I'd also been avoiding social media because I just knew Ryan would post something annoying. But Wednesday morning, I finally caved and checked Instagram. Sure enough, there was Ryan with a gym selfie captioned, "Level up, know your worth." The audacity, I nearly threw my phone across the room. Vanessa came over that evening with takeout and found me wrapped in my comforter like a sad burrito. She's been amazing through this whole thing, making sure I eat actual food, listening to me rant about the same things over and over, and not once saying, "I told you so," even though she had her suspicions about Ryan from the beginning. While we were eating, Vanessa showed me her texts with Cody. Apparently, they'd been talking a lot, and he had tea to spill. According to Cody, Ryan had been telling everyone at work that he dumped me because I was clingy and always talking about marriage. What? I was not the one who made a Pinterest board called Future Home Ideas. Yes, Ryan actually had one of these, which he claimed was research for some work project. Then Cody dropped the real bombshell. Ryan wasn't just lying about his job title. He was currently on probation for taking credit for other people's work, and might actually get fired soon. All those late nights working. He was frantically trying to fix mistakes before anyone noticed. Those business trips. Complete fiction. I was still processing all this when my phone rang. It was Tina, Ryan's mom. I almost didn't answer, it felt awkward, but I figured I should be an adult about this. Tina has always been super sweet to me, like remembers my birthday, and actually asks questions about my life, kind of sweet. She sounded concerned, and asked if everything was okay between me and Ryan. Apparently, he told his family we had a little fight, but that everything was fine. A little fight? The man publicly humiliated me, dumped me in front of his friends, and stuck me with a massive bill. I tried to keep it vague, saying we were taking some space because I didn't want to put her in the middle. Then she mentioned Ryan's birthday dinner on Saturday, and how the whole family was looking forward to seeing me there. You guys, I nearly choked on my lo mein. Ryan had told his family we were still together, and that I was coming to his birthday dinner. The dinner was at his parents' house, and apparently, he told them we had big news to share. After hanging up, I sat there in shock while Vanessa looked at me like I'd grown a second head. She was like, is he delusional or just a pathological liar? Honestly, I was wondering the same thing. That's when we came up with the plan. I wasn't going to just ghost his family, they'd always been kind to me, and they deserved to know what kind of person Ryan really was. But I also wasn't going to cause a scene or be vindictive. I would simply attend the dinner as invited, and let the truth come out naturally. The next day, Cody met me for coffee. It was slightly awkward since we'd only met through Ryan, but he turned out to be really chill. He confirmed everything and added even more details about Ryan's work lies. The team Ryan claimed to lead was actually just him and 2 interns. The big presentation he was in charge of last month. He was just operating the slideshow while his boss presented. Cody seemed genuinely upset on my behalf, saying he'd always thought Ryan's stories about me seemed off. Apparently, Ryan would come to work complaining that I was high maintenance, when in reality, I was paying for most of our dates toward the end, because Ryan claimed to be between paychecks, something I now realized probably meant he was terrible with money. Midway through our conversation, Cody got a text from their boss, asking if he could come in Saturday evening to help with some emergency project. Cody was bummed because he'd had plans, but then I had an idea. What if Cody needed to drop something off at Ryan's parents' house during the birthday dinner? The timing would be perfect. As we were figuring out the details, my phone buzzed with a text from Ryan, the first one since the restaurant disaster. It just said, "We need to talk about what happened." I might have overreacted. Might have. I showed Cody, and he nearly spit out his coffee. Overreacted is when you get annoyed about someone being late. Not when you publicly humiliate your girlfriend of 2 years and stick her with a $300 bill. I didn't respond, let him sweat. The next 2 days were a blur of preparation. I wasn't going to this dinner unprepared. I dug through old texts, finding all the lies. Dates when he claimed to be at work conferences that didn't exist, stories about coworkers that Cody confirmed were fabricated. Even photos Ryan had posted of himself at work events that were actually just downloaded from the company website. Friday night, Vanessa came over to help me pick an outfit. Not going to lie, part of me wanted to show up looking amazing just to spite him, but we decided the best approach was to look nice without trying too hard. We settled on a simple black dress that Ryan once said made me look average, which now I realize was his weird attempt at criticism, because I got compliments whenever I wore it. I barely slept Friday night. What if this backfired? What if his family took his side? What if I froze up and couldn't go through with it? By Saturday morning, I had chewed my nails down to nothing, and gone through about 17 different scenarios in my head. Around noon, Ryan texted again, "Looking forward to seeing you tonight. Wear something nice. My parents are excited." I didn't respond to that either, let him think whatever he wanted. I spent the afternoon getting ready with a weird mix of dread and anticipation. Vanessa helped me with my hair and gave me a pep talk when I started to lose my nerve. At 5:30, I got in my car and headed to his parents' house. I had to pull over once because my hands were shaking too much to drive safely. I sat there for a minute, doing those breathing exercises from that meditation app I downloaded months ago but never actually used. What was I doing? Was this crazy? Maybe I should just block Ryan on everything and move on with my life like a normal person. But then I thought about him sitting there at his birthday dinner. Probably telling everyone some fake version of our relationship, maybe even making himself the victim somehow. And my resolve hardened. I pulled up to his parents' house at 6:15, fashionably late, which I knew would annoy Ryan. There were several cars already in the driveway. It looked like the whole family was there. I checked my makeup in the rearview mirror, took one last deep breath, and walked to the door. Ryan's dad opened it with a big smile and a hug, ushering me inside. The house smelled like Tina's famous pot roast, and for a second, I felt a pang of sadness. I genuinely liked Ryan's family, and this would probably be the last time I'd see them. I rounded the corner into the living room, and there was Ryan, drink in hand, mid-laugh at something his cousin said. He froze when he saw me, clearly not expecting me to actually show up, despite what he'd told his family. The look on his face was priceless, to be honest. For a split second, panic flashed across his features before he composed himself and came over with a fake smile. He gave me a stiff hug and whispered, "You actually came. We need to talk privately, like, you can click on share more to see if there is a part 2.